Hello everyone, welcome back. Once again, I'm Nicodemus Kane. Today is, well, it's April the 20th of 2023. Just for the fun of it, before we read, what are we up to? Ezekiel chapter 9. Just for the fun of it, let's see what has happened on this day through history. Well, let's see. Siege of Boston in the American Revolutionary War. Oh, okay. Sure, why not? France declares war against the King of Hungary and Bohemia, beginning the French Revolutionary Wars. Interesting. The U.S. Congress passes an act creating the Wisconsin Territory. Interesting. This is all like 1800s. 17. What was the first one? From like 1775 all the way down to like 1800s. I should probably do the years, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I probably do the years? Yeah, you think? Let's see what else. World War II. There's a lot of World War II. Well, there's a couple World War II things. The League of Nations officially resolves. 1946. The League of Nations officially resolves, giving most of its power to the United Nations. Okay. 1972. Apollo 16 supposedly lands on the moon. Yeah, right. 1999. Columbine. 2008, Danica Patrick wins the Indy Japan 500, becoming the first female driver in history that doesn't really mean much to anything. Oh, I like this. 2013, a 6.6 magnitude earthquake hits someplace in China. I can't even say that. Yuan? Yan? I don't know. There's other things too that they don't have on this list. Remember, this is oh look, 2021 State of Minnesota versus Michael Chauvin. Derek Chauvin is found guilty of all charges in the murder of George Floyd. That's interesting. But then we could talk about birthdays. Anybody want to talk about birthdays? I just, there was somebody that was born, what was it, 1889. You can't even say his name. Among other things, of course, and there's a lot of things that you could talk about with what is the national day? What is these made up national days for 420? National High Five Day. Get to know your customer day. Volunteer recognition. National Pineapple Upside Down Cake Day. National Cheddar Fries Day. These made up nonsense stupid days that you have like 20 of them per day now because everybody has to feel special. Explosion at an oil rig. Deepwater Horizon oil rig, 2010. Among other, I did not know, George Takei. My name is George Takei. Anyways, I'm going through this, saying this, because this is just one of those days that you just have to look out for. What happens on April 20th, 2023? A hybrid solar eclipse occurred on, well, wait a minute. Occurred on or is occurring on? Why is this in the past tense? Occurred on Thursday, April 20th. Oh, because of the timeline? It happened over Australia, but wait a minute. Did that already happen? Apparently it did. So apparently for anyone that's in Australia. I used to have one Australian listener. Apparently you had an eclipse. I don't know. I have no idea. So anyways, yeah, totally. It's just something to watch out for, especially with the eclipse. If something interesting happens over in Australia, it could be because of the eclipse. You never know. I'm not saying anything's going to happen today. I'm just kind of pointing that out, that it's just one of those weirdy days. You know, as always, I tell everybody just to be careful, watch yourself, use discernment, the whole deal. But just be prepared, I guess, more than anything else. Now that I've got that out of the way, I felt like I just needed to say all that. Let's read Ezekiel 9. It's short. This might be a short video. Simply because I really don't have much to talk about. Even though you know how it is. As soon as I start reading this, I'll be like, oh, hey, you know, this is this and this is that. I know I'm in a weird mood today. I woke up hard, as in it took me a long second to really get moving. You know, I know whenever I tell people that it was hard for me to wake up. There you go. I did not wake up hard. God. No, it was not easy to get moving this morning. And once I got in the shower and started getting myself ready, it's just been a weird day so far. I mean, I've only been awake for an hour. It's already been crazy. All right. So, Ezekiel chapter 9. That's what we're doing today. It's like I said, it's going to be short. If this video turns out short, then hey, there you go. I actually could use some time to just meditate before work. That'd be pretty good. All right. Now, stuff we covered before, stuff we covered yesterday, was the old adage that I like to keep a hold of. No matter how bad it looks on the surface, no matter how evil and wicked it is on the surface, all you have to do is turn around, and it's far worse behind closed doors. We saw that over and over again. God was taking Ezekiel through and saying, look how bad this is, but no matter how bad you think this is, if you turn around, the abominations are even worse. Look how bad that is. No, just turn around, it gets worse. So always keep that in mind with everything you see. No matter how bad you think it is 5 times worse. That's why you have to call out evil when you see it. You have to tell the people the truth in everything and expose it in the light and show it to these people. Because the majority of people don't want it. You know, I'm sure that they don't want all of the darkness and pain and misery. I mean, we're not to that point yet where the majority of people are, begging for these things. When we get to that point, and yeah, there's going to be a problem. But the majority of people, no matter what the news tells you, is not falling for the evils of this world. So with that, you have the ability now to be able to call these things out. To say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe that's not a good thing. And always try to tell the people, well, hey, since this is happening here, Can you imagine how much worse it is that you can't see? The stuff that's behind the closed doors, the stuff that we don't know about. Because that's exactly how it is, no matter how bad it looks on the surface, no matter how many times you see the videos of them having little kids dressed up like drag queens, dancing, playing around, accepting dollar bills in their outfits. Yes, I've seen videos of that. Can you imagine what they're doing to these kids behind closed doors? No matter how bad the wars get, no matter how bad the killings and murders of your governments get, can you imagine the orders that they are giving our soldiers, which we've heard many of our soldiers tell us some of the most evil and vile things that they are told to do? Can you imagine how much worse it is what you don't hear, what you don't see, what you don't understand? For all of the pain and suffering that is caused by homelessness and hunger and starvation, all these things, in which your government has the absolute ability to be able to fix these things. I mean, people constantly want to cry about the government fixing things. Fix this, fix that, fix this. Well, you know what? All that money that we put into the government that they are constantly sending out to other countries for things like war, like reparations, like whatever it is, gender studies in some unknown country in Africa. For all that money that is being sent out, we don't take that money to help the people inside of our own country. For all of that, how much worse do you think it is? How much worse do you think they're using your money, your time, your effort, your currency? How much worse do you think they're using that behind closed doors? It's evil and twisted and wicked as hell. And if we don't call it out now, if we don't say that's something we should not be doing, it's just going to get worse and worse. Evil snowballs consistently and constantly until it stopped. So that was what happened yesterday. God took Ezekiel around and he said, look at this. Look at what these people are doing. This is inside of my temple. I built this place. This is where I told my people to come and worship me. And look what they're doing. Look at all these things. So that's where we are. So Ezekiel chapter 9. I got a little tongue-tied there. Ezekiel chapter 9. Like I said, it's short. It's like 11. I think it's 11 verses 2 pilcrows. Yeah. All right. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gates, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in, and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. All right. There's a pilcrow at verse 5. Let's go back up to the top. So he cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. Alright, so cause them that have charge over the city to draw near. So these would be what? The generals, the rulers of the armies, I would think. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. Okay, and one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. So apparently this guy was clothed with linen with a writer's inkhorn. So this guy was able to take notes, to document things? Sure, why not? And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. Now I was looking through this. The glory of the God of Israel went up from the cherubim, an angelic being. It's one of the angels. Whereupon he was to the threshold. That does not help me, threshold. What is a threshold of a house? Come on now. Oh, so it's where it's basically your doorstep. Okay. You know, I've always heard that, but I've never actually looked it up before. The threshold of a house. And the glory of God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house, to the door of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. The Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh, and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So I'm going to guess that means set a mark upon the foreheads for the men that cry for doing the abominations. Not for the ones that are crying against it. They're crying for doing it. They like their abominations. I'm going to say that's what that's for. That sigh and cry for all the lament, all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So this is putting an actual mark upon these people's heads. Now, we talk about the mark of the beast. It is a mark that will identify you in some way, shape, or form in your hand or in your forehead. Some people say that it is the actions you take, or it is the thoughts that you have. Okay. How can the thoughts that you have and the actions you take affect how you buy and sell things? This is a physical mark. This is some kind of a physical thing about you that's going to keep you from being able to use money in this world. With that in mind, there's somebody that's going around with ink and a pen and making a mark on people's foreheads, the ones that are crying for the abominations that are going on. Okay? So let's go to verse 5. And to the others he said in mine hearing, my throat cracked. There we go. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men, which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. So see, I got it backwards. This is one of those perfect examples of you should read the whole thing first before you start talking about it. Well, we read it the way we read it, and I always say that, what comes next could change what I said. So do not touch the people that have the mark. So these are the people, and I had it wrong, like I said. And I probably, I can see it now. Somebody's probably deleting a comment that they just wrote. So instead of them crying for doing the abominations, they are crying against the abominations. How about that? Okay, now that we have the whole story, we understand what this is. These are the ones that are to be saved. These are the ones that have not fallen for the lies and the tricks and the abominations of the world. You have to read it. You have to read it in context. You see, it's a perfect example. Not only a perfect example of how you can change your understanding of the word, how you can change your mind of how the word is going. Not only that, but it's also a perfect example of getting the context of what you're saying. Taking in the whole thing before you pass any judgment whatsoever. All right? Perfect example. All right. And it's like that through the whole Bible too. You can read two or three chapters of a certain book and still not get the total message. You hit that fourth chapter and you're like, well, wait a minute, this changes what I read 2 chapters ago. You have to take it in context. If I were to just take that one line, and if I were to go with that the way that I did it, it would have been wrong. So I changed my mind on that. Back up to verse 5. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. So here's another one of those places where people will say, oh, God he's horrible. He's killing the men, the women, the children. What is he doing here? Well, this is what he said was going to happen. He said this was coming. He sends out his own people to do this. Everyone except for that mark. Yes, there is a mark of the beast that will be upon your forehead and upon your hands. But there is also a mark of God. That he marks you so that the evils will pass you over. Just like Passover. Just like we just got done with Passover. So, today we get to go back to eating bread. What was the meme I saw? It was so terrible, but it was so true. It said that first day off from Passover, and it was a guy holding a giant Twinkie or something like that. And I said, oh, that's so terrible, but man, it's so true. It's absolutely so true. Which I am still going to try to keep on it. You have to remember, Passover is basically a no carb diet. You know, it seems interesting that I'm not going to say the number one diet in the world right now, but the one that seems to be working. A lot of people seem to be really doing pretty good with these no carb diets. But the one thing that the Father tells us to do at the beginning of a year to be able to clean yourself out from all of the food that you've been eating for the past winter, because, you know, all those stored up foods, the one way to clean it out is to have a week of just a no carb diet. Of course, it's not just food. Again, I've said this before. It's not just food. It's about cleaning out your house. It's about cleaning out your body, cleaning out your soul. It's about getting rid of all those things that you have inside of you that could cause you to stumble down into evil. All of the quote-unquote leavening of the world. That's what it is. It's a cleaning out. But it is interesting, though, that the very first thing, it's a low-carb diet. No-carb diet, really. Well, okay, I'm going to say low-carb, because I guess you're still getting some of it with the unleavened bread. But still. Anyways, I just find it interesting. God never gave us a bad commandment. No matter how much people want to try to say that. Anyways. But it's a Passover mark. Anyone that has this mark on their foreheads, pass them over. Anyone that is crying out to the people, do not do these abominations. Don't do these things. I had it backwards. Now I'm correcting myself. Thank you, Father, for correcting me. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. This sounds terrible. That sounds awful. Why would God allow this? Well, because you didn't listen to him in the first place. It is like a father with a child. Your father tells you, don't do this. Don't touch this. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't cheat. Be good. Be better than what you are. Because if you do these things, you will become evil. Remember, there's intention in the things that we do, the things that we say. I was talking about this, 2 episodes ago, where they put their intentions upon people putting their intentions upon jars of rice. If you put all of your evil intentions onto a jar of rice, and if that rice turns black and moldy and disgusting, what is going to happen to your body if all you do is evil? You're going to turn black and moldy and disgusting. That's your soul. That's your light. That's how you're going to turn out. If you keep it in love, your light shines bright. You don't have to worry about falling into this despair and all these things. You're keeping yourself pure. You're doing something better than what you are. It's about doing good and evil. So your father tells you, don't do bad things, do good things. But he also says, if you don't do good things, if you continue to do bad things, you have to be punished. He says, I will bring that punishment upon you. I can't play favorites on this. If God played favorites, whenever he was judging righteously, he would go against everything he's ever said in his entire life. Oh, but what about the time whenever he pulled the Israelites out of Egypt? He was playing favorites then, was he? As soon as they got out of Egypt and started complaining, and they started whining about not having any food, started giving up hope against their own God, the one that they just saw do all of these wonders and miracles and all these things to be able to pull them away from their slavery. Did he let every single one of them see the promised land? He didn't even let Moses see the promised land. He could see it, but he wouldn't let him come into it. Moses wouldn't let him do it. Every single time anybody complained, he judged them right there on the spot. There was always somebody dying somewhere, always something happening. Evil comes upon the people of this world because they choose not to listen to him in the first place. And he tells everybody this. The Bible tells it to you over and over again. His patience is extremely long-lasting. But sooner or later, he's going to have to judge us all. In the end of days, when the judgment time comes, we will all be judged according to a very specific set of rules. You're not going to get in because you put more money in the tithe. You're not going to get in because you helped more people than anything while you were off committing sin in other places. You will be judged according to what he said. Even I. That's why we get the chance to be able to have our sins washed away, so that we can start over, so that we can start fresh, because he knew that there is ignorance now, that we didn't know any better. That's what it says over and over. That's what it says whenever we talk about the Gentiles. I even have it written down now. Jeremiah 16:19, the Gentiles shall come back to him, saying, surely we have inherited the lies of our fathers. We didn't know any better. How could we have known? Because we grew up into this garbage. And we will come back to him saying, we want to know the truth. We want something better than this. We have inherited these lies. Now we want you to wash us clean, to make us better. That's how this works. That's how this works, guys. Anyways, and he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth, and they went forth and slew in the city. It sounds terrible, but it is real, true judgment. That's real and true judgment. That's probably another one of those hard teachings that pastors and preachers should be preaching in the churches, but they don't. They like to soften that up and just say, anybody that is saved in the blood of Christ can be delivered and they don't have to worry about all this and all that. But they never once say, God killed his own people. Those that were supposedly following the law, following the word, following what God wanted. And this was a majority of people. This is the way it's going to be in the end. You have to get that in your head. It is a narrow path. It is a very narrow path. It's a narrow path that I fall off of all the time. So don't think that I am any better than anybody else. It is not an easy path. It is not an easy go, because this world sinks its teeth into you and it does not let go. This world does not want you staying on that narrow path. at all. And I fall off and I pick myself back up and I pray to the Father, Father, strengthen me so that I won't fall off again. And he puts me back on. And you hear it all the time about the stumbling blocks that are put in place, whether by the evil men of this world or whether by the Father himself, in order to test you, to see if you will get back up and get back on that path. That he will put those stumbling blocks in your way, so that you can fall off and get right back up. That's a good teaching. I've never heard it said like that before. The narrow path in which he puts the stumbling blocks on, you fall off the path, and he picks you right back up and puts you right back on it. And you try to stay on it as much as possible, and the enemy is always trying to pull you off. It's good teaching. But yeah, no, they won't ever tell you that. They'll just tell you that everybody that believes in Christ is going to get into heaven. Period. There you go. While they never once even think about things like this, where it says, slay the women and children, both the maids and the little children and women and all this kind of stuff. And this is God saying this. Because he has to judge it righteously. He can't play favorites when it comes time. We have to be better. That's what your Bible says. I wish it would just be better, period. If we were better, period, we could definitely change the world. But, of course, that's a long way away. Let's keep going, though. Verse 8. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried, and said, Ah, Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then said he unto me, The iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, The Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. And as for me also, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. There's a lot to pick apart in there, too. Back up to verse 8. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried, and said, Ah, Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Which is exactly what any good person worth their salt, would fall on her face and say. Of course that's what you'd say. You're killing everybody. Will there be anybody left? I mean, the women, the children, I get it. Let's look at the word fury. I get it that you are angry at us and you have to judge righteously. But this seems a little excessive. But it is. It's anger. It's fury. It's poison. Wow, that's a way. Hot displeasure, indignation, rage. How much do you have to piss off God in order for him to do this? I mean, really, think about it for a second. His patience is eternal, and yet this is where his rage stopped. How bad did they? I mean, really, how bad was it? No one actually says the next one. Verse 9. Then said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great. Now remember, these aren't just the Gentiles going out and just being crazy and nutty and doing all this stuff. These are his people. He chose these people specifically. And they went off and did this. His people. Who are his people now? Anybody but that believes in Christ and follows the word. The word, again, this isn't just about who has the blood in their system anymore. This is about if you choose to follow the word of Christ, if you believe in him and you get baptized in the blood of Christ, you get pulled in with everyone else that is going to be saved. Because the Gentiles, it made it clear in what it was in Jeremiah? I think I got that one written down too. Somewhere. I don't know where. Somewhere though I have it written down. Where it said that the Gentiles, those people that were not Israelites, will get to come in. Remember, it's the same thing. The Gentiles will come and they will say, surely we've inherited the lies. And they will come with everyone and be a part of it because they want to be saved too. It's always been that through the book. I've said that all the way through. That anyone could have come in at any time. All they had to do was follow the rules, and they're grafted in. They're adopted into the family. That's what it's always said. They just have to repent of their old lives. Come into it. But this, at this point in time, these are his very specific people. That he pointed to them and said, you're going to be my light in this world. You're going to be my people. You're going to be the ones that's going to show everyone else how this works. And of course, if you read the book over and over and over again, they didn't listen. They kept falling. They kept falling for it over and over again. Christ actually had his moment where he was trying to save his own people, and his own people didn't want to have anything to do with him. And he understood that it was all the other nations, everyone else, those people, they wanted to come in. Remember the talk with the woman at the fountain where he said, we don't give the meat to the dogs. She said even the dogs can pick up the scraps. Even the lowly dogs that are not a part of your people, even we would love to pick up the scraps. There is no chosen people other than those that believe in Christ and want to follow God's commandments and want to be pulled into the family. There will be a grafting in. But again, for this, at this time, these were his chosen people that were supposed to be a light to the world. And he says, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great. They have gone way overboard. And the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. They say, God doesn't care what we do. There was something similar in, where was it at? Where was it at? Was it in the last one where they were talking about the things that they do in darkness? Because God simply tells everybody, hey, be good, do this, do that. And what the people started seeing, it was the last chapter where the people started seeing, well, look over here. This God that these people worship, they give them all this money and wealth and fame and fortune. And of course it's going to give you the things of this world. God doesn't give you riches and valuables and things of this world. He can. He gives you the things that you need in this world. But it's all of the other false gods of this world that will give you the riches and fame and all that, because they need you to worship them in any way possible. Remember, I said that it's only those that really sell their souls that get the fame. There's I heard it was some rapper on one of those videos that I've watched over the years where they talk about the satanic music agenda, and he was saying that once you get to a certain dollar point, you can make $1 million, you can make $2 million, you can make whatever it is. Once you get to a certain dollar point, if you want to get over that certain dollar point, you have to sign your soul away. You have to sign the papers that say, oh, hey, this is where all of this leads. This is where all of this goes. That's that point. And he was saying for those that don't sign it, they get dropped like a bad habit. But for those that do sign their soul away, they have to go through all the humiliation rituals. They have to go through all of the process. They have to do all those things that you see these rappers have to go through with the sex tapes and with all the other craziness, going out and being made a fool of, having to wear the dresses, having to do all the stuff. That's what they have to go through in order to get their money. And then once they sign that paper, they explode. They absolutely explode. And you see that. And their music, no matter how bad it is, gets pushed all the way to the forefront. They become the hottest thing in the world, no matter how garbage you think it is. It could be good too. They could put out the best stuff in the world, and you might think, oh yeah, this is good stuff. But then they could put out the most garbage nonsense in the world, and they will push it. And pop songs only really get catchy whenever they play it every single hour on the hour. No matter how bad the song is, if you hear a song 30 times in a day, you're going to start humming along with it. You're going to eventually start liking it. That's how the music industry works. So of course, no matter how bad it is, if they push it enough, you're going to listen to it. And they're going to get rich. They're going to get famous, and it's going to build. It's going to build. They're going to get bigger. And they're going to get bigger. But the whole time, you have to understand that they've sold themselves. They've sold their souls. They have to follow along. In order for them to reach that level, they have to give up part of their lives to get to that point. So when the Israelites looked over at everybody else's gods, and they saw that, and they said, well, look, money, fame, fortune. God isn't giving us this stuff. God has forsaken us. He promised us we'd have all the riches and all the valuables and all the things of this world. No, he never once promised you that. He promised you that he would give you the things that you need, he would keep you safe, and he would store up your salvation in heaven. that you would gain riches beyond your wildest dreams. There, not here. So the first thing they say is, God has forsaken us. That there is nothing that he has done that's doing any good. He allows this evil. Why would he allow this evil? It's because you're not following him. Because you chose to mix and mingle his word. You chose not to listen. Well, he has forsaken us. No, he hasn't. Just because he's not here giving you all of these things that you want doesn't mean that he's not with us. There's nothing in this Bible that ever says he makes kings out of certain people. He's told us that. He will make kings out of certain people because the people wanted a king. So he said, okay, fine, I'll give you a king. And the kings that he gave us ruled righteously with good judgments. But then some of the kings he gave us also fell because they didn't rule righteously, because they started mingling. It's the same thing with Solomon. Solomon wanted something different. He wanted something a little bit more. That's what this is all about. It's just wanting a little bit more. And you take more, and you take more, and you take more, and then eventually God says, I started you off with enough, and now you've taken so much, and you're starting to forsake me because you're starting to realize that I'm not here to store up your wealth in this world. That's exactly what's going on. But then they also say, and the Lord seeth not. So they do it behind closed doors. Well, the Lord doesn't see what we're doing. The Lord doesn't care. He's not out there. He's forsaken us. He's left us to our own devices. And we can do whatever we want. He's not seeing. It doesn't matter. That sounds like a lot of Christians nowadays. You know, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care. As long as we know that he's there, we're okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think he's there. It matters that he knows you're there. Because remember, if you don't do what he asks you to do, he's going to say, I didn't know you to begin with. I don't know you. You were nothing to me because you were never really there. You were never really there because you were blotted out of the book of life. You were there at one point in time, but I had to blot your name out. I don't know who you are. This is hard teachings. Again, this is the stuff you're not going to hear. It's the stuff I never heard up until about 5, 6 years ago, when I really started reading and understanding. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Nobody ever told me this stuff. Nobody ever told me that we had to be better than what we were. What is this? All I was ever told in my entire life was all you have to do is just believe in him and you're going to be saved. That's it. You're good. All of this stuff, you can go out and be the worst human being in the world. All you got to do is just believe in Christ. It'll all be washed away. You'll be fine. The hell? Anyways, the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. That's what they say. Verse 10, and as for me also, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. Wait a minute. How fast did this guy go through the city? Seriously, how fast did this guy go through the city? Because he went to all of those people that were crying against. Now remember, I had that wrong at the beginning. It wasn't the people that were crying for, it was the people that were crying against. I will absolutely admit that I had it wrong. He was marking those people that were crying against it through the entire city. And then he comes back just a little bit later. I'm done. That's it. It just doesn't seem like a lot, does it? At least to me, it just doesn't seem like a lot. I don't know. Maybe there was more of a time differential than I understand. I don't know. But so he made a mark upon everybody that was crying against it. God said, slay the rest of them. All of them. Men, women, children. Oh, God is so cruel and so wicked and so evil. No, he said this was coming. He said this was coming. Very, very specifically. You were supposed to be my light upon this world, and you failed. You chose to not only believe that I had forsaken you, not only believe that you could get away with doing all of these bad things, but then you started following after these other gods, started bringing abominations into the land. How bad could those abominations have been? Well, sacrificing human beings is as bad as it could be. Again, I think cannibalism is probably where it gets to be the worst. That's some Days of Noah kind of stuff. So if they were openly practicing these things, yeah, that was it Jeremiah or Isaiah where it was saying that even the fairest, the nicest, the best of the mothers were boiling their children alive. And those aren't my words. We looked that up. We had to go and search those words out in the Strong's Concordance, and we found out that's what those words meant. I don't even remember where it was anymore. I did not write that down because that one was kind of a dark and disturbing passage. I don't even remember where it is. But it was enough. It was enough to know that it was in there. So anyways, yeah, I couldn't even fathom where that part was, but I know we read it because we spent some time on that, and it was pretty dark. It was pretty dark. I'm not even gonna look it up anymore. We don't need to hear it. We really don't need to hear it. So that's where things were. That's how bad it got. Now all you gotta do is take a look outside. Just take a look on social media. Take a look at the world. And you will see abominations that are creeping in. Very sick and demented abominations. So much so at this point that we are officially talking about human-animal hybrid chimeras. This is a thing that Japan is starting to talk about doing. About mixing DNA creating monsters. This is the thing. This is what's coming. This is what's coming down the line. We are seeing this transhumanism, not just in terms of man and machine, but creating different human beings through I'm trying to think of the word, plastic surgeries, through augmentations, every dystopian sci-fi nightmare come to life. We're starting to see it. We're starting to see, especially kids, that are being lied to so much that they don't know who they are. They don't know what to call themselves. They are growing up in this life of perpetual childhood where parents, if they even have parents, refuse to I don't want to say educate. And I don't want to say punish either. They refuse to keep their kids from doing bad. They refuse to give their kids any kind of discipline whatsoever. They would rather just have their children sit and scream. Where the children that don't fall for the evils of the world, where they completely go off the line, are going out and purposely hurting people. They're tearing down buildings, rioting through Walmarts now. This is a new thing. I saw the videos where these packs of kids will trash through a Walmart and they'll leave nothing but the broccoli. That's a truth. That's actually, one of the, it was sad to see, but I thought it was, sorry. I thought it was funny that, they were showing the videos of where these kids went through and completely trashed this Walmart. You know, hundreds and hundreds of kids, these flash mobs. I don't know where the hell these kids are coming from, that will tear straight through a Walmart and take everything, destroy everything, and leave. But this woman was filming it in the produce section, and I was like, well, they left the broccoli. they left a lot of vegetables, you know. They'll rip through and they'll take everything they can except for the broccoli. I mean, it is what it is. But it just, that's where we are now, man. These kids don't care. And again, it's this system that has created it. It's not just the lack of parents. It's the entertainment. It's the movies and the TV shows that first of all teach the young kids that they are the ones that are in control. That anybody else, adults or grandparents or anybody that's older than you are, does not know what they're talking about. That they are worthless, they are garbage, and you should not listen to them. So immediately, you have it to where kids just will refuse to listen to you because they have been programmed. And I've gone over enough about television and about the media to where we know for a fact that television can send a signal to your brain that can rewire the way that you think. But you have all these shows that will first of all tell them that their parents and their grandparents and anybody else, their teachers. I remember in the 90s we had a lot of shows where it showed that our teachers were completely inept and they did not know what the hell they were talking about. But of course then I also saw the shows where they were trying to get you to understand that that education system did know what it was talking about. So you had to listen to that education system more than your parents. But it was anybody that's older than a certain age you don't listen to. But then of course you get older and the movies and the TV shows start getting more violent. They start teaching you that people die. People can die in every single way possible. And what do you do whenever somebody dies in any way, shape, or form possible? You say some kind of a punchline or a catchphrase, and then you walk away. Tell me it's not true. Tell me it's not absolutely true. That's how you were raised. Somebody gets ground up in a meat grinder, and you say a catchline, and then you walk away. Or you brutally kill somebody. You say a catchline and you walk away. Tell me it's not true. Tell me you haven't been programmed from the day you were born. So it demeans life. It devalues life. Now you have entertainment where it's all about monsters, vampirism, drinking blood, eating meat. There was what was the whole thing? It was 5-6 years ago where it was like almost every movie was about cannibalism. You talk about zombies. I mean, zombies are about human beings eating other human beings. Yes, they're in a state of decomposition. Yes, it's like that, but it's still about cannibalism. Now it's gone so far off the walls that they're just straight talking about Satanism inside of TV shows, inside of movies. I mean, they've had it before, but it was always on the B movie side, and you didn't really have it. Now it's like the A-list stuff, and it's getting pushed harder and harder. Not only that, but you're seeing the transgenderism inside of these TV shows, where you're looking at a girl, and I was just watching it the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact. We were watching The Mandalorian, one of those episodes, and I'm sitting there, and there's just something wrong with this girl that's on that show. Not Cara Dunn. This is third season I'm talking about here. But I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking, I even said it to my wife. I said, I'm 95% certain that's a dude. It's just not right. It's the way it walks, the Adam's apple, the big chin, the broad shoulders, the lack of shape, the fact that even though the fact that there is an ass to it, but it's not a female ass. It's just a male ass that's worked out. The broad shoulders, just everything. I said, I'm 95% sure that's a dude. You can't, you'd have to really, really, really prove it to me that that's a chick. But it's in there, and you see it more and more and more. And they push it, that confusion. So you're getting everything all at once. You're getting all of these programmed items into your head from the day you're born. And you get this childlike behavior. during that process. Not only that, but your mind is becoming segmented. That's how MK Ultra works, is your mind becomes segmented because they're constantly dividing up your mind to make it easier for you to be programmed. You have all that going against the kids. Then you have this musical culture, which at a time, music, I get that music has always been bad. I mean, there's always been that little bit of it, going all the way back to Robert Johnson, the stuff that he used to sing about. I used to listen to some of that 30s, 40s, 50s music. I still do listen to some of that stuff. And you hear it, and you understand, what it was. And then you get into the counterculture stuff of the 60s, and it's like, holy crap, that was a lot of, programming and conditioning in the 60s. And even in the 70s. But in the 70s, we had a little bit more of a storytelling process. They were actually telling stories, but still, it was a counterculture, a dissemination of your mind, which went through the 80s. In the 80s, you started getting shock rock. The 90s, you started getting, full-on Satan-worshiping heavy metal. I can admit that. I was one of those heavy metal guys. I know what it was. There were some bands that weren't embracing it, which was cool, which was usually the ones I listened to, but then there were some that were. They absolutely went to it. But then, the biggest problem that I foresee that happened around the 90s was you started getting into gangster rap. And it was always there. You can't say that the rap of the 80s was any better than the rap of the 90s, because the stuff that they would give to you commercially, the Rapper's Delight, they gave you the clean version. Have you heard the extended version of Rapper's Delight? Every single one of them had a second verse that they could go out, and they were talking about having sex and getting money and getting paid and all the other kind of stuff. And I heard it the first time I heard it, and I said, oh my God, what is this? It's always been there. But then it became, talking about gangbanging and turning girls out, picking them up off the street, going out, doing all these things. And that's what these kids think. There's a reason why this stuff became number one in the country. It's because it got pushed. There was the greatest uproar in the world back in the 90s when this stuff came out. And all the moms, all the white moms came out and said, hey, this isn't right. Now, I believe to a point that whenever you tell a kid not to do something, they're going to do it anyways. But I also believe that if a parent knows what they're doing and they tell a kid not to follow something, the kid's not going to follow something. It just is what it is. I 100% do not believe that a kid will listen to something they don't like just to piss off their parents. I don't believe that at all. I believe that if something is pushed enough, you will eventually like it. And whether your parents, approve or not, you're going to listen to it. So, of course, all those kids from the 90s, all those kids of the 80s, 70s, and 80s that started having kids in the 90s, they're already brainwashed into the counterculture anyway. So now it's, they're just letting these kids do it. And it just snowballs and it gets worse and worse and worse. And now, all of the innuendo of all of the TV shows, of all the music, of all that stuff that came out in the 80s and the 90s, that went right out the window. There is no innuendo anymore. Yes, I know, innuendo. You mean like Christmas lights? Yes, I mean like Christmas lights. Innuendo. There is none anymore. It's all right there in front. It's all out in the open, and they don't care. And they push it. And now it's become so weaponized and revolutionary that I noticed 2018, 2019, when the idea of resetting the world really started coming into being. There was a lot of people that were pushing for, tearing down the old systems, tearing down the old ways, fighting back against the system. You had 2, maybe even 3 years of the slogan was burn it down. Everywhere. Burn it down, set it on fire, catch it on fire, do whatever you can to take down the world. Slowly but surely manipulating the kids into weaponizing themselves. All the music, all the movies, everything was about regimes falling and taking power back from the quote-unquote fascists of the world. And then 2020 hit. What do you think happened? It's where the problem lies. Is that these kids have grown up into this society that nobody ever tried to stop. They just let it go because they thought it wasn't hurting anybody. And because of that, because not only are they listening to the brainwashing and they don't have anything to hold on to, they have the schools, which are indoctrination centers, which will tell them that you are nothing. You are a happy little accident. You are born from a monkey, and that you will die as a monkey. That there is nothing out there for you. That your life will fall apart and you will die, and that everything is worthless and meaningless, and that you should just go ahead and give up now. Take whatever you can. He who dies with the most toys wins. The whole deal. And they are told these lies over and over again, and no one has ever tried to stop it. Or at least the people that are trying to stop it, they aren't doing their damn job. And they're told these things as soon as they get into a school. And what is going to happen when somebody tells you that you are worthless? That you are garbage, that you are nothing. Not only that, but they start telling you that the only way that you can help yourself is to have somebody else come in, a third party, to come in and help you. You need a therapist. You need a psychiatrist. You need government. In some way, shape, or form, you need government to be able to help you to get out of wherever you're in. Tied with the entertainment, tied with the music, tied with all of this other stuff. You're worthless, you're meaningless, you're garbage. And now you're being programmed into being a ruthless killing machine, where your life matters more than other people's lives. What do you think that's going to do? I can say it over and over again that we have to be better. But I don't know how much it's going to help. I don't know. I really don't know how much it's going to help. I really don't know what it's going to do for anybody. Because again, people just have refused to listen. And so many people have fallen into it themselves that it's just become this cycle of evil and darkness. And it keeps building up. And I've said it over and over again that it's a snowball. It just builds and builds and builds. You are seeing darkness and evil and wickedness that this world has not seen in many, many years. Could this be stuff that we saw, or that Christ saw whenever he was walking the streets of Jerusalem? Possibly. Could this have been what Ezekiel saw when he was walking the streets of Jerusalem? Possibly. Could this have been what Lot saw when he was walking the streets of Sodom and Gomorrah? Definitely. Could this have been what Noah saw when he was walking around before the flood? Definitely. And worse. No matter how bad you think it is on the surface, it's 5 times worse behind closed doors. So, with all that in mind, I'm going to go. I need everyone that hears this to start speaking up and speaking out. Tell the people the truth. Your friends, your family, I don't care who. Start your own YouTube channel. Get on Twitter. Get on whatever the new truth things are. I don't even know anymore. I don't even care anymore. Whatever it is. Tell people. Don't use what I'm saying. Well, you can use what I'm saying, but I mean, don't take me word for word. Go out and prove it to yourself. Prove it to other people. Tell it to them straight. It's the only way that we're at least going to be able to save souls. To save people from it. This world is wicked and it's fallen. And it keeps getting worse because good people refuse to take any action. We have to be better. We have to do something. We have to do something or this whole place is going to swallow us whole. It's enough out of me. I'm going to stop. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. God bless every one of you. I will talk to you all later.